Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Prehistoric Kingdom Beta. My name is Swoop there and we are here in Fercola Mountain Park. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel. Please do like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. It really does help out a small creator. I'm going to jump straight into a speed build today simply because it's a little bit of a longer one today. So the speed build goes for approximately 15 minutes. I am building you would have seen from the thumbnail, a mammoth, I guess, cliff viewing platform. It's kind of cool. I'm quite proud of it now that I've finally finished it. It's about 5-ish hours of work, so it's not the longest build I've done in this park, but it definitely is, I think, one of the better ones that I've done. I've done a lot of rock work for this particular habitat and viewing area. I also decided that I would put the mammoths in. I was originally going to put in the Torvosaurus, and I don't know why, but I changed my mind at the last minute and decided to put the mammoths in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the mammoths now. So let's learn about the mammoths together. The mammoth, or the woolly mammoth, was a huge herbivore, somewhat related to, I believe, the Asian elephant. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, any mammoth experts, but that's what I've read. They were covered in like a really thick coat of brown hair that kept them warm in the Arctic plains where most of them have been discovered. They had really large curved tusks that potentially were used for fighting, but they also have been speculated to have been used for a digging tool, like for foraging for shrubs and grasses or roots or whatever they, were looking for at the time. They were huge, so around 13 feet or 4 meters tall, and they weighed around 6 tons. And also, I did also read a cool fact, which was that some of their hairs on them could reach up to 3 feet or 1 meter in length, which is incredible. Although they went extinct around 10,000 years ago, we know quite a bit about them as humans because of where they lived. So the permafrost of the Arctic has preserved heaps of mammoth bodies. For example, and this is kind of a sad story, but I'll see if I can find a picture here. In 2007 in Serbia, they actually uncovered a pair of mummified baby mammoths, and their bodies were so super well preserved that they were able to do CT scans and find out that the mammoths actually died from choking on mud 40,000 years ago, which is incredible. It's amazing what science can do at the moment. There is a lot of contention around whether mammoths could or could not be actually brought back, I guess a bit Jurassic Park-esque like, because the mammoth corpses are so well preserved. Scientists have been able to take out their DNA, and one really good specimen they've nicknamed Buttercup in inverted commas, and she lived about 40,000 years ago. They've been able to find out she was about 50 years old, and in theory they're saying that this DNA could be used to clone the woolly mammoths and basically bring them back from extinction. But it is a highly contested concept in the scientific world. So I guess a lot of people would say that the mammoths died for a reason, and if we were to bring them back, the habitat isn't what it would be, or what it was, I guess, when the mammoths roamed the earth. So where would it live? And then obviously on the other side of it, people are saying that if we can bring them back, that we should, and the habitats could be created for the creatures if they were brought back. So I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about that. Do you think that if they were able to do it, should they do it? Or do you think we should just leave the past in the past and just sort of admire what we know about them from science only? I don't really have an opinion on that at the moment. I haven't thought too in depth about it, but I mean, it would be amazing to see them, but also if they were going to suffer in the current world, which there is no way of knowing whether they would or not, then I wouldn't want them to do it. So I guess I probably would say leave the past in the past, and we will just sort of admire them from pictures that we can see and what we know of them. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about what I'm building. I decided to go with a building. I'm going to drop a inspiration picture in here of what I used when I built this building. It is 2 tiered. It has a staircase and an elevator to get to the upper level. It is basically just a 2-tiered viewing area. The bottom viewing area is really just for guests that are walking past. They kind of want to see the mammoths, but they don't want to, spend too much time there, and they want to continue on around the park. The top viewing area is to really get a good view of not only the mammoth enclosure, but also like the vista or the view across the entire park. So I've tried my best to kind of keep the mountains in the background really visible so that you can kind of see all of that kind of vista all the way around. And it does look really good from that upper level, so I'm happy with that. I spent a lot of time during this build putting in rock. You'll see me do a lot of rock shortly. I do it because I feel like it probably is a little bit more realistic than just grass on a hill and then, this building just plopped down. So I have sort of made it look like they've carved away the rock in the mountain, and then they've sort of built this building in against it and popped in the path and so on. The staircase I had to fiddle around with a little bit, but not too much. It's not too bad. And then I do go in at the very, very end, which I didn't record, and I do actually put a banister in, so it is safe in the end. On the inside of the building, I just went for really super simple. I popped in some, dead logs and trees to make it look a little bit more interesting. Popped in a couple of implied signs and some seating. I didn't really think that anything else should go inside this building. I'm open to suggestions though, so if you guys think other things could potentially go into this building, I would happily take on board those suggestions and potentially pop them in. You can see I just went away and stole the door for the elevator so that I can pop that on to the elevator shaft here that I'm building. Interestingly, this door is way too small for a person in game, so I don't know what I was doing when I built this, but it's far too small, so I had to eventually go and stretch it and make it big enough, but I'll have to go back and fix up the Pachyrhinosaurus habitat to just make sure that the elevator looks realistic when the guests are walking around, because right now they're just like a little bit taller than the door in that habitat, oddly. I don't know what happened. Anyway, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop some music on for you. There is about 9 minutes left of the speed build, and then I'm going to take you around myself and pop in some cinematics at the end. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you then. Bye. Welcome on back from the speed build, everyone. And here we are in Fercola Mountain Park, just finished building the mammoth enclosure and viewing building. So I guess if you were a guest and you were walking along this path and all you really wanted to see was the mammoths, you didn't want to read about them, you didn't want to get like a better vista, you could just come along here, stop here, and then you could look down into the habitat from this view here. So let's just go a little bit further. I did put some seats and bins down in this area for people to sit down if they wanted to. So here you go. You could just kind of come stand here and view the mammoths in this area. I have paused the game because the lighting is so beautiful at the moment, but I could potentially just change it to turning off the day-night cycle. Turning off the weather, and then we can press play. That way we can see the mammoths wandering around. There we go. So I'm going to eventually fix this fence along here so that it looks a little bit more, I guess, integrated into the river, for want of a better word, I suppose, because at the moment it's just kind of sitting on some land so that it's there. But I don't really like the look of it. It's quite stark in comparison to everything else. So I will work on making that look a little bit more integrated. But I'm happy with everything else in the habitat. I'm particularly happy with this building. So let's just head back a little bit so you can get the full view of it. All right, so here it is. You've got the upstairs, which is largely similar to the downstairs you would have seen if you watched the speed build. I'm thinking about potentially changing this display for the upstairs area, maybe to like some information about the land around the park or the mountains around the park, because when you go up into this top area, you actually have a really great view of all the mountains that kind of surround the entire map. So first we're going to head into the downstairs area. You can see I've got these doors on either side. I didn't want to put doors at the front because I thought that would ruin the view, particularly if it's raining and you're a guest and you kind of just want to get out of the rain. I mean, I guess you could stand just under here, but you also can go in here and then you're like fully out of the weather, and it's nice and shielded from the wind as well, I suppose. So let's just go first to this vista here. So you get a really nice view right up to the top of the waterfall and then the path that goes right around this side. And you can also look straight down, see if there's any mammoths kind of below you. And then over to the back here, I'll take you at the end. That's where I'm going to put the backstage area. So it's kind of not viewable from this particular viewpoint. And then if we just head into the door here, there we go. So there is no doors on the back of the building, so you do need to come around the side, which I think is probably a design flaw. I might actually put a door in here as well, but none on the front. So you can see you've got this beautiful view of all the mountains, but if you head right to the top, there's no trees in your view at all. So we're going to do that shortly. I've got some implied signs. I just put some dead trees on here. I mean, I'm not too sure why. I mean, I guess it was just looking a bit bare, so I wanted to put something, but I think I'll probably change this display down the track. And again, there's just some seating inside here. So let's head out the door here and we're going to go around. Now, we can go up the lift, which is just here, and up to the upper floor, or we could go up the stairs, which are here. Don't mind the Z fighting, guys. I've decided to embrace Z fighting while we're still in beta because it's just so much work to eliminate it. All right, let's go into the lift and we're going to go up to the next floor, and then here we are. We've come up in the lift and then there's the lift exit. So to get into the building from being on the lift, well, we're just going to head up a tiny bit here. You need to go around to the same door as downstairs, and then it's basically the same except there are some seats in the front here as well. So let's just go and get a good look at this vista. All right, so look at those mountains. Aren't they just beautiful? So if you come and stand right here is probably the best view. So you've got vista all the way from basically almost a 360, so all the way from here all the way around the park. There's mountains, and then you've got obviously this mountain that I've put in. This is like one that I've used the terrain to put in. I may eventually make them a little bit smaller, but I quite like them. And down below here, there's another river. And then you can see you've got a really good sort of top-down view of the mammoth enclosure and their little waterfall area and river, and right out into the other rivers in the back of the park. So that's upstairs. Now what we might do is we'll go down into, we're just going to fly across here, excuse us, and we'll drop ourselves down just here. All right, so this is the other side of the building. So you can see here, this is the back of where we just were. And then if I turn around here, this is the rest of the path that I've put in. Now, it doesn't go anywhere at the moment. Also, the other path on the other side doesn't go anywhere. I was just feeling really inspired to do this particular build, and lately I haven't really been feeling building, unfortunately. And then I was just like, I'm going to jump in Prehistoric Kingdom and see what I feel like building. And I found that inspiration picture, which you would have seen in the speed build if you watched that. And I just really wanted to build it, and it didn't really fit anywhere near what I had been building so far. So I thought I'll just jump into a different part of the park and build this. So you can see this is basically where the path ends. It will eventually go on down and make a really big loop all the way around the park. But at the moment it doesn't really go anywhere. And then I will just head back. What I'll do is I'll just zoom out now, so you guys can see like the full view. Here's the entire enclosure building. And then if we just fly over here, you can see where the path ends here. This is all my backstage stuff. Now, the problem I'm running into, unfortunately, is that I didn't actually leave enough space for a path to either go kind of past the backstage area so that it can create a big giant loop in my park, because I wanted to kind of do a loop and then another loop, so basically like a massive figure of 8. So you had one half of the park and then the other half of the park over this side. But I haven't left any space here for a path to kind of go from the Dinochirus across to the Mammoths. So what I'm thinking about doing, and I'm interested in hearing what you guys think, I'm thinking about doing a sky bridge that kind of comes across this backstage building, and then there'll be a backstage building here for the Mammoths as well. So it'll kind of come from here, and I'll build it up and it will go across, and then it will come down, and then it will connect to the Mammoths. And then that sky bridge is kind of just a way to connect this sort of half of the park, I guess, from the entrance to this side. So let me know what you think about that. I'm not entirely sure it's what I'll do. If I'm not going to do that, then I guess my other option is to half these backstage buildings, like move the staff room and then make this like a path that goes across here, and then somehow and just move all of this back a little bit. But I really don't want to have to move all my backstage stuff, so we'll see what happens. I am going to put a backstage building in here for the Mammoths and give them some undercover, I guess, like a little shelter for them, because at the moment they don't have any. But I mean, I think they'd be pretty happy without it. They did live in like below freezing temperatures, so I'm sure they're all right. Anyway, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to leave you with some cinematics now, and then I will see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to give me a like or a comment if you did enjoy it. It really does help out a small creator. Or alternatively, subscribing would be even better. Thank you so much, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.